Hello, welcome to another episode of The Marital Mission. I am your co-host, Shamika McDowell.
And I am your other co-host, LaRodrius McDowell.
And we are back for the 2018.
Hey, we in here.
People say that, 2018.
We in here.
We are not only back, we are back together.
We are back together.
In the same city. The challenge that we were facing before was being in two different cities and juggling work schedules and moving and
adulting.
Right. But we are back in the same city, lovebirds, once again.
Exciting.
Very exciting. Are you excited to be back?
I'm excited. I have missed you all. I missed you when I was away. So to be able to wake up to you and go to sleep next to you, nothing like it.
Oh, you're sweet.
I was fake single for a while.
No, you weren't.
Eating ramen noodles and Earl Campbell's.
The bachelor life.
Yeah.
But we're back together and we are very excited to be back on the mic, as we said. And yeah, ready to get back into the swing of things.
Yeah, it's like riding a bike, though.
Yeah, it's weird. Thank you for your patience. I know we kept saying, oh, a new episode. Now, we have been recording a little, but, you know, once again, adulting and getting things situated. But we're here, and today is actually our 6th wedding anniversary. So happy anniversary, baby.
Happy anniversary to you, my love.
Yay. 6 years deep, 6 years old.
6 years.
Any encouraging words to those who may be like, man, I don't know if it's for me, or I'm ready to throw in the towel?
I can liken it to craft beer.
We like craft beer.
It gets better with age.
Uh-huh.
I'm overjoyed to be in a position where a lot of people don't make it. To be honest, in today's time, a lot of young people, which, I consider myself still to be young-ish, right? Everybody put ISH on into things right now. So we're youngish. We're a youngish couple, especially in the spaces that we go to when we are around other married couples. We're not usually the youngest couple, but we're
close to it.
Yeah, and so to be able to celebrate 6 years and, to share that with people, and they're like, oh, like, seasoned couples, they're like, oh, yeah, you guys got it. I mean, I do feel like we have found our footing. Not many things surprise us. We still deal with things that, we haven't experienced before, but it's not a surprise.
Yeah.
And we know how to bond together in those times as opposed to separate.
And not for nothing, we were on and off before being married. So that
so we're approaching 12 years in June of knowing each other.
Yeah.
Yeah, we have some history.
Yeah, we're getting up in age, baby.
Oh, no doubt. No doubt. I'm waiting for the gray hairs to come through.
Hey, you might get what you're looking for soon. Be careful with that.
Hey, you say you like it, so that's why I want it. I would like to share with you all that I was ambushed this morning in bed. I had one eye open.
Ambushed in bed.
And it's safe for work. And so one eye open, kind of checking my phone, and you come and you get in bed with me and you show me your video that you made for our anniversary.
Yes.
And I ain't gonna even lie, y'all. I shed some thug tears.
He did. He almost made me cry, and I'm a crier. And I looked, and he had a little tear, a little stream going down his face, y'all.
Yeah, it was nice to wake up to all of the thoughts, feelings, and emotions. To be able to wake up to my wife and to know the appreciation and the journey that we went through together. it was touching.
Oh,
So I appreciate you for allowing me to be a man that cries.
well, I appreciate you being a man who isn't afraid to cry.
No doubt.
I always said you are an anomaly, but in the best way possible.
Well, thank you.
You're welcome. So, this week's episode.
I think she's a little bit more excited about it than I am, but I'm definitely going to represent well.
I think we're on the same page. So,
We are.
this week's episode is about what's it going to take to heal the relationship between black men and black women. So, that's kind of the overall arching topic.
Yeah.
But what got this conversation going between us is if you happen to watch YouTube web series or any videos, there is one called Grapevine.
Yeah.
And what it is a group of young adults ranging from early 20s to early 30s sitting around having a discussion about current relevant topics that affect not always that affect, the black community, but just overall general topics. And last week's topic happened to be about man bashing. They had a healthy mix between men and women, and the moderator, she let the men go first and give their perspective on what they think of male or man bashing. And a lot of them felt like it was prevalent in the black community. It's like a think piece, but a live group
Yeah.
think piece. Like they take think piece topics and then, it's just like a round table discussion, and
Yeah.
they're pretty dope.
And one thing about people sharing their opinions is that you're not always going to agree.
Mm-hmm.
And then you have people that you tend to agree with more so often than others.
Mm-hmm.
I have no problem with that. It was a lot of people I wasn't agreeing with on this episode.
Mm-hmm.
So I take it personally because
You take what personally?
the whole man bashing thing.
Okay. Why?
Well, should I say that? I don't take it personally. I don't take the man bashing personally. I'm personally offended that it's allowed to have as much space as it has in our community.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know if we're gonna get to that later or what, but
Well, one of the young ladies on there said, if it doesn't apply, let it fly.
yeah, but I mean, I'm married, so I ain't really concerned about it from that perspective. But I want to see more healthy relationships, whether it be dating relationships, friendships, platonic, marriage relationships, father-daughter, mother-son, whatever it is. I want to see good relationships in the black community.
Mm-hmm.
And when you have this, and when we say man bashing, a lot of it is, men are trash, men are no good,
Mm-hmm.
men are dogs.
And that's what concerned me. Like some of the ladies that were on the panel, they were very adamant. Like, men are trash. This is why. And one young lady, she kind of threw me off because she started out by saying, from the time I was 5, I had to. What did she say?
She had to wear skirts.
I was like, okay, I don't. So where do we? If men are trash, okay.
Well, before we get there,
Okay.
so I guess let's add some context to what does it mean. So everybody kind of defined it their own way.
Mm-hmm.
The general consensus
On that show.
Mm-hmm. was that men are not willing to be held accountable for their responsibilities
For each other.
For acknowledging the thoughts and feelings of black women,
Mm-hmm.
and their role in the plight of black women.
Mm-hmm. And their complicity in white patriarchy and white supremacy.
And the fact that they try to assimilate into the white male patriarchal society or system, and then find their place in it, and then become oppressive to black women.
Yeah.
All right, so that's pretty much what they were talking about now.
Yeah.
Did they do a good job of
presenting their arguments?
I mean, that's up for y'all. Y'all can go watch the video.
Yeah, please watch it. And if y'all want to have a discussion about, the thoughts, please hit us up.
And let them know in the comments that we sent you there, because, we all about supporting black business. And while I'm at it, WeBuyBlack.com. Check them out. You know what I'm saying? I ain't never talked to dude, but I love what he got going on.
So one gentleman says, if men are trash, then women are trash too. To which I agree. Because if we're going to speak in the general sense, and here's what I find strange, that if you say men are trash, that's okay. But the moment, like, it was said that, well, so are women, it was like,
here we go.
Like a personal attack.
No, it was like, that's the same rebuttal that racist white people have.
Yeah.
We're not talking about that. We're talking about men. That's not what this show is about. I'm trying to figure out, first of all, words mean something.
Yes, words mean things. Shout out to Crystal from The Read.
Like, you can't be out here calling people trash, calling people no good, and then thinking that a person is going to listen to what you have to say and think that that person is going to respect your opinion and value your opinion and even want to try to build with you.
Right.
You call me trash.
That's the end of conversation.
That's it.
There's nothing else to be said.
We got to be careful out here, people.
Think bigger. Like, use your words.
Yeah.
Okay, men are trash. So simplistic. And one person on the panel of the Grapevine show said there are levels to this. Okay, so you need to break down those levels. You can start at the high level, but figure out a different tactic, because men are trash isn't going to elicit the response that you need. Now, I'm all for, speaking truth, but there's a difference between speaking truth and just being downright.
Or speaking out of pain.
Right.
Because that's where it's coming from.
Right.
I think that when we have this discussion, we have to realize that there's a certain level of accountability that we have to have as an individual. So instead of becoming defensive or trying to refute what someone's saying, try to see your place in it, or why would someone be hurt enough to use such words or language toward you, even if it's not specifically toward you, but just a general consensus of the gender that you were born into. And that, let's just keep it in cisgender.
Yeah.
Like I said,
that opens up a whole other can of worms.
You shouldn't be.
But I'm proud of you. You learning the terms.
Hey, defensive to where you're always trying to talk down someone's point, or
now they would argue that that's exactly what the men were trying to do, that men in general don't hear the concerns of women, that they immediately jump to the defensive.
Yeah. If you know me personally, then in conversations, I always try to add perspective from the other side if I can. Especially so when you have women talking about men this, men that, then I just like to remind them that, well, women are doing the same things. And that becomes problematic for some people, but I feel like...
They say you're deflecting. We're not talking about men right now. We're talking about women.
We're not even going to talk about the deflecting thing, because we need each other. X, Y chromosomes, feminine energy, masculine energy.
And if we're going to talk about how men are trash, how did they get there?
And who's putting up with it?
And so back to the accountability. So one young lady went into this whole spiel about, black men feeding into white patriarchy and upholding systems that oppress women. To which I said in one of our sidebar conversations,
because we paused the video a few times and then we just chop it up between us.
Yeah. So, and in the same breath, kept relating how the responses of men, or they were likening the responses of men to that of racist white people, like the defense mechanisms and deflections that they tend to do. So you want to equate, sexism with racism. So let's do it. If we're talking about race and we're saying that black people do not have an agency to be racist, prejudice, yes. Discriminatory, yes. But racist, because it's systematic, it's institutionalized, we don't have the agency to implement laws and
we ain't running no systems over here,
right, and policies that affect certain demographics and this, that, and third, or even just based alone on race. Let's just stay there. Okay, so if black people don't have that agency, how in the world do black men have the agency to oppress black women through white patriarchy? Like that confuses me. So
I think people take real injustices that they may face, and then I think what we try to do is we get comfortable with wearing those things that we have to face, whether they be oppressions, whether they be injustices, or both, and we fight for who's the most oppressed.
Yeah, the oppression Olympics.
And it's detrimental when you're fighting with the very people that you should be aligning yourselves with to rise out of.
Oh, that's what I was. Okay, go ahead.
She having a moment, y'all.
This thought keeps eluding. Let me get to it before it eludes me again. Because...
Go ahead, Nori. Shout out
relax.
Drink Champs.
You gotta relax. You gotta relax. So I resent the likening to the whole black notion with the whole white racist notion, because how we operate internally is different how we operate externally. So me as a black woman talking to a black man, the conversations of how we need to be accountable to each other is going to be different than when we speak to other races.
Yeah, just like your mama talk to you a certain way that's different from your friends.
Exactly. Because this is family right here.
Yeah.
How we talk to family is going to be different than how we talk to strangers. So, of course, I'm going to have a more vested interest in the opinion of family and the relationship of family than others. I think we have to be careful with how we approach these subjects and how we liken it to, sexism as it's faced with other races, and then how it's translated or how it's dealt with in-house.
Yeah. One thing that I could vehemently say, black women have never been and will never be my enemy.
Mm-hmm.
Now, I'm a math teacher, so there are outliers, and you deal with those accordingly. But when you're talking about central tendency, you don't throw the baby out with the bathwater.
Not if you have a vested interest in the black community.
Come on. So who's really doing the most damage if you turning on your brothers or your sisters?
Right.
I like I say, I like to provide both sides and perspectives from both sides. And being that I feel like I'm in tune with my feminine side, I feel like I have enough.
I mean, you cried this morning, so not to say that that's feminine, but
Hey,
some people would say that.
I understand what you're saying, and so I just feel that I have enough good relationships with women. I feel like the relationship that I have with my mom, my wife, I know that there is not one thing that any of those individuals could do or say that would make me turn on the whole group.
Right. And shout out to Aisha on the show, who she's my favorite because she doesn't show up just with an opinion. She shows up with facts. She does her research to support her argument. She brings up epigenetics, which epigenetics tends to be how pain and trauma can change the chemical balances in our body and ultimately reshape our DNA. She was saying how all of this hurt that we're carrying down from generation to generation, we carry that in our DNA, and then we go out into the world, and not only are we have that in our DNA, but then we also have that external factor where we hear men are dogs. If there's no father in the home, they may hear disparaging remarks about the father, and then this person grows up and they have to contend with their own relationships, and that triggers things. So it's like this generational, almost a curse that, you keep hearing that men are nothing. And ultimately, if you keep repeating that, that's exactly what you're going to find. On the flip side of that, then you have these boys growing up and they're hearing that they're nothing. And so it manifests. And then you don't create safe spaces.
So before you go to the safe spaces, I'd like to shout out Aisha as well. Mm-hmm. I do appreciate how she does her research. Mm-hmm. She states her findings. Mm-hmm. She includes her personal opinion. Mm-hmm. She's very clear of what her opinions are and then what her facts are.
Right. And I piggyback her notion that she said, yes, my sisters, all of that is true. Men can be trash, but I can't fix my mouth to say men are trash because of the men in my life.
Yeah.
When I say I almost caught the Holy Ghost and ran up out of there, like, yes, people's actions can be trash.
Yeah, I mean, I agree with that, but you know me, I don't agree with that language being used. And, I'll discuss that a little bit later. But as far as Aisha and her commentary, I noticed that there are people that frequent the shows, mm-hmm. and she's one that is kind of like a staple, mm-hmm. but she's rarely trying to get her, like, she says what she says
and she's out of there,
and she sit back, she'll absorb the things that are being said, and she may have like something that she'll kind of add a little bit later, mm-hmm. but she has, to me, and of course it's personal opinion, but she has the most value to add to the conversations, but she's not the one that's doing the most talking. The ones that's always raising their hand, they're talking out of emotions.
Yeah. And
that's a dangerous place to be. And I think that's how we got to this whole thing. And that's how we continue to perpetuate this divide or divisive language between men and women. Mm-hmm. So let's just, be clear that it's not let's get all up in arms because women are now saying that men are trash, because we know in the early 90s that men or certain artists were popularizing certain words that we're calling women, right? Bitches and hoes. Mm-hmm. And the level of outcry mm-hmm. from men definitely was not what it should have been. And women were pushing back. But then I think that there was a point in time when women started to embrace those words. Mm-hmm. Or they would say, well, he's not talking about me. Mm-hmm. And then you had women saying it. You had men saying it. Mm-hmm. Personally, I never got comfortable with using that word or those words or those terms to address women. And
I can honestly say I've never heard you in the 12 years now? 12 years yep. I've known you. I've never heard you refer to a woman in that manner.
And I mean, now I won't say that I've never. I understand what you're
I've
saying.
never
Yeah,
heard
yeah.
you.
I'm not saying I've never done it, but as an adult, like 18 and up, and even as a child, like I wasn't just around here saying that. Like I never got any joy out of that. As I explained in some of the previous episodes, I had a great relationship with my mom growing up and my father, and I never saw my father call any women out of their names, and I looked up to him, and really I never, like, I have an older brother, I never really heard him refer to women in that manner. So even though I listened to the music and I may have rapped along with it, it just was never something I was comfortable with because I knew I had homegirls that I respected. I had a girlfriend that I respected. I had just, women in my life that I wouldn't like anybody saying it's about them. So I never adopted that. It's one of those things where that's why I say I take it personally, because when I reflect on the times that growing up I faced challenges with women, being that I felt I was not a trash dude. Now, it was an article that one of my close friends posted on her Facebook, and I just read it today, talking about nice men versus good men.
Mm-hmm.
As I began reading it, I immediately wanted to say, okay, so I think I've always been like a nice guy, no, nice guy versus good,
Nice guy versus a good guy.
a good guy, right?
Mm-hmm.
Or a good man. And so I wanted to be like, well, I was both a nice guy and a good man. But then as I was reading it, I was like, okay, there were times when I was a nice guy, and then now I feel like I am more of a good man as opposed to a nice guy. Even though, given the day or given the situation, I feel like I could be either or, right? So what the article was saying was, nice guys pretty much do niceties out of expectation of being reciprocated in a certain way, or being rewarded in a certain way. A good man does things just because of his moral makeup.
Yeah.
He does it without the expectation of being rewarded, but if he is rewarded, then that's just a bonus. And so they go through all these different scenarios of the way that a nice guy would behave and the expectations he'd have. Being a nice guy, it's a lot worse things out there than being a nice guy.
Yeah.
But
Lawrence.
I do feel like intentions matter, and you can't be out here portraying yourself to be a good man and leading people on when you're doing things with ulterior motives. I guess the reason why I'm saying this is that I've lived my life intentionally towards the opposite sex, toward black women, as far as esteeming them. Man, and I mean, this is not a pat myself on the back type thing, because, Chris Rock was talking about, a lot of times men want to get a pat on the back for doing stuff that they should do, right? But it should be recognized that there are guys out there that are intentionally living their lives to be respectful and to uplift black women. When I met you back in 2006, I was purposefully looking for someone, a black woman that had natural hair, preferably locks or afro, right? And you had that, and that was one of the things that attracted me to you. And so I think you had already been natural for like a while, a few years, a couple years, 2 or 3 years, right?
3-4 years.
Okay. I had an appreciation for that after I learned knowledge of self and these things. As we, made up and broke up, there were times when I was living in Atlanta and I would see, black women. And this was still kind of before the boom of,
right,
natural hair. Like I would see, black women, and I was in a sales position, so I would see like a lot of people on a daily basis, depending on where I was located. If a woman had locks, I had it down to a science to where I could pretty much estimate how long she had been growing her locks. And I made sure I complimented every black woman that had natural hair, whether it was locks, an afro, a shortcut, because I knew that they don't receive that on an everyday basis.
Now, there would be women.
Hold on. I know what you're about to say. There were those women, right? I said but I knew I was a good man. At that point in time, I knew that my intentions were, I don't want anything from you. Now, some of the women were beautiful, and I would not have used that as a way into a conversation.
Well, I wasn't going to say that. Now.
Okay.
I was going to say, they would say, well, why wouldn't you compliment a woman that had a weave or wore
Do we want to get into that
extensions?
conversation, or that's going to be another episode?
I mean, I know how you personally feel about it, but I'm saying that I'm pretty sure that the women, especially the one in that panel discussion, and people who, a lot of black feminists, a lot of black womanists would say, why is that? Because, you know, they jumped on Kendrick Lamar in his video.
Well, okay. Well, I mean,
why is that the standard? Why can't a black woman just wear her hair the way she wants to and a black man compliment her?
Oh man, it's a lot up in there that I don't.
I'm just putting that on
no,
there.
No, and I appreciate that. There's a lot in there that I don't think we have enough time in this episode to unpack. Maybe we should do that. Y'all let us know in the comments if y'all want us to talk about that.
Because they would say black men have no right to tell a black woman how she should look, what she should wear,
and that's real.
And how she should behave.
And that's real. And I agree with that, right? But to an extent, first of all, black feminists just don't go together for me, you know, and so, you know, we can have that conversation, you know, just the origins of feminism, and then how black women attach themselves to that, and how the benefits of feminism, black women still, I mean, self-proclaimed that they still at the bottom, right?
Yeah.
So these gains that the white women made, where are your sisters to help? Now, look, I love black women, and I fight for y'all figuratively, literally, but the whole black feminism and a man can't have an opinion, that's something completely different. And I think that's counterproductive. But if you want to live in that space, do you? I was intentional because I knew that these women who had started to embrace who they are instead of covering up who they are or altering who they are. And hey, you know, I mean, like, now you're my wife. I share certain opinions with you. I never tell you how to wear your hair, right? And, you know, we just don't do that with each other. But I will give my opinion. And there are times when you will alter your hair, or you might want to put some braids in to go on vacation. You know, on like rock the reel.
So there are different reasons for different things, right?
Exactly.
So when I do it, it's to protect my natural hair. If you wanted to continue looking luxurious in the way that it looks, well, we need to give it a break.
But there are natural protective styles that you can wear, right?
Yeah, but that also helps.
Yeah, we going off, you know what I'm saying, on some other stuff. As you see, you know, it's a lot that I have to say on that, but to kind of bring it back in, these were women who I knew from black men, because I'm a black man, and I know that I didn't always think I used to like the long, straight, bone straight hair, and you know, this girl, her hair comes down to here, but she got the little pink on her forehead because the hot comb or whatever then touched it, or her ear got a little scab on it. You know what I'm saying? Like, hey, you know, I know y'all put a lot of pain and you know, time and purpose into looking how y'all look. So when I saw a woman that was trying to break free from that, or, you know, maybe she had been rocking it for a long time, I just want to make sure that she knew that there was a black man, or I represented more than just myself, that there are black men out here that rocking with your sister. So, hey, keep it up, you know. So what? I think you probably been, you know, growing your locks for like 3 years now. And then, you know, she might be like, yeah, it'll be 3 years and 2 months or something like that. You know what I'm saying? And then just keep it moving. Just being nice and smiling, and as opposed to trying to holler at them. And like I say, there was some beautiful women, but like, I'm just know, like, it's counterproductive to what I'm trying to do, to now try to talk to you when I just gave you a compliment, because I don't want you to think that every time you receive a compliment from a black man that he wants something from you. You know, or even like just darker skinned women, I would compliment her skin tone. You know, now if you ask me, well, why didn't you do that with everybody? Because I know some of these women out here getting gassed.
Or won't receive it in that way.
No, that they getting gassed. They hear it all the time.
Mm-hmm.
And like, and I'm not saying I would act, ugly to them, but I just know you don't need a compliment because you get them all the time. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
So I'm trying to like even out the playing field. I was the Robin Hood of compliments. When I speak on these issues, I represent that frame of thought that, man, like I love black women.
Mm-hmm.
I champion black women. Black women are the archetypes for me.
Careful, they might accuse you of being a hotep. As if, and I don't know when that became a
But see,
derogatory term.
like they don't really hold a lot of space in my world. People that just speak, like I said, they speak out of pain.
Mm-hmm.
When you're willing to deal with your pain and you're willing to become better, then we can sit down and we can have a conversation. But if you just want to hurl insults, men are trash, women are bitches, I can't really build with you in that space. I'm working through things.
Yeah.
I'm still unpacking, some things that I learned, and I'm trying to unlearn things. But if I have somebody that's coming at me and telling me that I'm trash and I'm no good,
Mm-hmm.
like how is that helping me to be better? If
Yeah.
if if I really genuinely want to be better, that's why I don't really understand the man bashing. Later in that video, right, there was one of the female panelists who was discussing how I guess there was a white woman who tried to join it. Like her and her friends were having a conversation. They were man bashing, right?
Mm-hmm.
Black men.
Mm-hmm.
So this white woman tried to chime in. She kind of shut her down, like, "Nah, this is reserved for us." How foolish does that sound? And so you were like, "Well, I understand. I understand what she was trying to say."
Mm-hmm.
But when you go even deeper than that, you're saying you cannot bash black men. That job is reserved for me.
But see, I don't think she sees it as male bashing so much as airing out her grievances about black men.
Speaking out of pain.
Or black women just want to be heard. And I get it. But at some point, you have to stop talking and there has to be a discussion.
Unpack that, because that's nice right there.
We're in an age where hashtag Me Too, hashtag Time's Up. We're discussing reproductive rights. We're discussing income inequality, cisgender, transgender, everything else in between. And everybody just wants to be heard. And that's cool. Even, from a racial standpoint, black people, we have been screaming certain things from the time since we were brought here, and we're still not being heard. At some point, you have to stop talking. Because if you feel that you are not being heard, silence can be just as effective.
Hmm.
Like, I was never one for back and forth. And so if I feel like I'm speaking to a brick wall, stop talking. Save your energy. Use that energy for something else. If you feel that you aren't being heard by so-called trash men or trash women, then start focusing on those that are out here doing something positive. Focus on them. Highlight them.
Yeah. And that's another thing. You have those that they don't exist.
Oh, yeah. One said, when men court out here, and does that even exist?
And she was the very one who said,
The most vocal.
she was the very one who said that I guess she was dating this guy. And in that same breath, she was saying whether she was either courting or dating or whatever. She told this dude that men are trash. Like, that doesn't even make sense.
Yeah.
You trying to get to know a person, you trying to build with a person, and you gonna tell them that they're trash, and then expect for that person not to,
Feel a certain way.
Come on now.
So we're introducing another word. So we have said accountability.
Mm-hmm.
Now we're saying stop being contradictory. Because when I hear men are trash, I hear a cry for help. I have seen wrongness, either that has happened to me or I have witnessed it in my life, and I don't know what to do with it.
Yeah.
So I'm going to band with these other women who have been hurt. And we're going to, talk about this idea that men are trash because they've done this, that, and the third.
Yeah, straight up. We need each other. I don't know how many times I can say that. If your desire is to be in a committed relationship, if your desire is to be in a marriage, you need each other. And so you can't you're not going to be able to be in this relationship, have those same thoughts and opinions, and then foster a healthy marriage, be able to raise
Healthy
healthy
children.
children.
Yes.
Because this is the thing, right? And I'm just coming into, the knowledge of this, not really coming to the knowledge of it, but just learning to embrace it and see the power in it. We create our realities based on our thoughts. You cannot, and that plays hand in hand with your faith. If you can't believe something to be, you can never create it.
Right.
So if you don't think that there are any good men out there, if you don't think that there are any good women out there, you'll never be able to create a space where you're going to invite those people in.
Right. You're not going to stumble upon it.
No, it's not going to happen. When I think about creating a safe space, right, we're talking about creating a safe space for men, creating a safe space for women. One, men have to begin to understand that we have to create safe spaces for each other.
Yes.
I've been ultra intentional on creating safe spaces with the guys in my life post marriage. Before then, I'd probably say I was more of the typical male. You
were a nice guy.
Yeah, but now I'm more so speaking of like my interactions with other guys. I would share the things that I felt would earn me respect in a room full of guys. I would hold on to those things that I felt like were going to be frowned upon, or I would be, made fun of. There was a certain level of machismo and even misogyny that I perpetrated, whether it been in conversation or actions. Now, as an adult, as a more mature man, as a married man, I realized the importance of me creating a safe space for my friends, whether they were married, non-married, in a relationship, out of a relationship, wanting to be married or not, that I needed them to feel comfortable to share their thoughts and opinions with me. And how did I do that? I expressed those things to them. I expressed those things to them that would generally be considered as lame.
Simping.
As simping, or the things that would make me look soft. When you know who you are, you don't have to hide it from anybody, and you don't have to defend it.
Right.
You just exist. And the people that are in your world, or the people that choose to be in your world, they'll be influenced to either be themselves, or they gonna leave you because they don't feel comfortable.
Yeah.
And hey, I'm cool with either one of those.
What does the Bible say? Shake the dust off your feet.
Exactly. And so my thing is, I've seen the benefits and the level of intimacy that I share with my guy friends is on a different level now, because now I've seen them grow into spaces where, we're not the same people, but I've seen them grow more comfortable in sharing their thoughts about the women in their lives, their desires about women, and even, their shortcomings, or where they just flat out wrong. And because, and I don't want to take all the credit for it, because, I have some wonderful guy friends, but the vulnerability that I feel like I have with them is refreshing. And then now I have the opportunity to go outside of my safe space, which are my friends, and I'm able to talk to them, other guys that I meet, with that same level of openness. So now I'm sharing who I am, and I'm creating a safe space for guys to be who they are with me. Because one thing, once you start peeling back those layers, you realize that, hey man, what's portrayed as masculinity is a farce. And so I think when we start to adopt or try to, or even if it's subconsciously, you're embracing that patriarchal mentality, you understand that you have to be in tune with both your masculine and feminine side. And it doesn't make you less of a man to do that. So when that plays into now men creating a safe space for women, we have to allow women to air out their grievances about how we have hurt them. And when I say we, you may not have done it personally, but we got it, like, just like we stand up as a black man and I say I represent black men. Well, you can't always do that with the good. It got to be with the bad too. So if there's a woman or women that stand up and say, hey, I feel like this when men are catcalling or when men are dismissive to, me or the women in the workplace or whatever, like, we got to allow them that place to be able to share that with us, and then not try to talk down to them or diminish whatever it is that they're feeling. We have to try to understand where they're coming from and then understand how can we help them, because we need each other.
Right.
And if you're not in that space where you're looking for outcomes, where you're looking for solutions, where you're looking for opportunities to band together and move ahead, then honestly, I don't have a conversation for you. So, I can't get with the men are trash, men are dogs, bees ain't S, but hoes and tricks and all that, like, or these hoes ain't loyal. Like, you can miss me with all that. I don't even listen to those songs. I don't even let that in because it's so hurtful to what my mission is as a black man, as a man of God. They're like, I can't even rock like that. So I'm trying to figure out, when people are saying these things, like, what's your end goal? And I think somebody asked that on the show, like, what's your end goal? Like, everybody, I think the narrative becomes men are raised like this because all these white media sources, or they want to report how black men or women are raising black boys, and black boys don't have respect for women. But there are a lot of dudes out there that were raised to respect women, to revere the black woman. And if we can accept and understand that everybody did not have the same experience as us, then you can learn something from somebody that grew up differently. And not to say that they have it perfect, but let's not alienate them because you tell me I'm trash, I'm gonna go the other direction. And you could have possibly benefited from my presence being there, but because of your abrasiveness, it's like, well, I'll go build with somebody else.
And then a part of that is, again, those who say that, those who cry out, it is a cry for help. Like, it's a strange dichotomy. Some people, they push people away when they're really trying to draw them closer, right?
Yeah.
But because they lack the skill, because they lack the knowledge of how to do that, they just rely on what the masses are saying.
Yeah.
And then they buy into that because, okay, this feels familiar, so this must be what I need to say in order to get my emotions across, in order for you to respond. And even though the response that I'm looking for isn't there, at least you're talking to me. At least you see me. At least you hear me. And hopefully, because you don't like what you're hearing, we continue to go back and forth. Obviously, they're being fed emotionally behind that.
Yeah, I can get that. I can understand that. And I guess the words "men are trash" alone, if I'm to be honest, wouldn't necessarily make me turn away right away. Because, I do like to engage people in conversation. But if it's not just the slogan and there is, you're trying to explain to me now all the reasons why men are trash, and you just riding that wave, and you're just talking out of your hurt and anger, I'd have to excuse myself. But if you say that, and I can understand that, you're saying this because you are hurt, you can then express to me on a personal level why you feel like that, as opposed to just, this is something that people say. Just like back in the day, like I say, when guys were calling women these names, dude, you ain't never been in a committed relationship before. You only know your mama and your grandmama, and you don't refer to them like that. So who are these women that you talking about?
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
Other people's daughters. And that's it's the cognitive dissonance that has always baffled me with that. It's like, oh no, not my sister, not my mama.
Yeah.
But that's somebody's sister or somebody's mama.
Yeah, for real.
So why would you? And then years later, you grow up and you have your daughter of your own, and it's like now you want to be the good guy, and then you want to protect her from the men who are trash,
Yeah.
aka you.
Yeah.
I get the nuances, I get the theories, I get the emotions behind it, but we really need to take a step back, breathe. Let's start thinking about why we're saying the things that we're saying, because it's not enough just to say men are trash. Tell me why you feel that way. What personally happened to you
Yeah.
that makes you buy into that sentiment?
Yeah.
Again, words mean things, and the Bible says you can either speak life or you can speak death. Men are trash sounds a whole lot of death to me. So what can you say in place of that to bring the very thing that you are desiring
Yeah.
from men?
Yeah. If and that's, I guess it just goes back to, what are your intentions? If your intentions are to foster positive, loving relationships with men or people of the opposite sex, then you have to think about your approach. You have to reconsider the way that you express your hurt, and you have to look for solutions. You have to believe that things can change. If you think that, men are dogs, men are trash, men are no good, and that's just the way that it is going to be, then that's going to be your reality. And
No, I think they think that by telling them that again, it goes back to the whole black women being the saviors of everyone, that because I'm holding up this mirror to you, I'm saving you from yourself. And literally, one person in that video was saying, you think that by participating in the oppression of black women, you're really participating in the oppression of yourself as well. To which, I mean, that could be said on the flip side. You saying that men are trash, you are inadvertently feeding into the notion that men are trash. So if you keep feeding that thing, don't be surprised if that's what you get in return.
yeah, so that's what I was saying. When you create this reality for yourself,
Right.
based on your thoughts, it's not going to change.
Mm-hmm.
So job I used to work at, the management used to say, if nothing changes, nothing changes. So you're going to keep getting the same results.
Mm-hmm.
When I was doing the things that I was doing, regardless of what it was, I kept getting the same results until I started to change. And so once I changed the way that I thought about things, then my movements, my action, my energy started to move in a different direction.
Mm-hmm.
Look, guys, if we want to be better, if we want to have better relationships, and I'm talking to you, if you want to have better relationships, you have to first start thinking differently. And in order to do that, you have to be honest with yourself, and you have to realize that you have everything that you need in order to get to where you want to be. And you have to realize that everything that you have is enough to get started. Like, we can't sit around and wait for whatever it is in our mind that we think should happen before, men become who they need to be or women become, like, you have to realize that you have what it takes in order to create this reality for yourself, and then start moving. And it's gonna be times when you have to push through the pain. Mm-hmm. It's gonna be time when you have to, be the only one that's speaking your truth in the midst of the peanut gallery. But when people start seeing you move in a different direction, when they start seeing, the stars align, and your efforts begin to be rewarded, then you can effectively create change, not only with yourself, but in the circle of people that you interact with. So, and I'm telling you from experience, because like I said, I was not always the forward thinking person. There was a lot of group think with me, and, it was comfortable because, hey, everybody's saying this, everybody feeling this, everybody doing this, so let me do it too. And then when you start to embrace who God created you to be and your uniqueness, then you start to live in it. And then you empower people to embrace who they are as well, and then we have a better playing field. So,
And we can do that by creating safe spaces in our own immediate circles. We can start by holding ourselves and those around us accountable for their actions and their words. That goes for men and women. That's ultimately what's going to change. It's not some stranger telling you 5 reasons why men are trash and that's going to make you be enlightened.
yeah.
You know, ultimately it's going to be somebody that you really value their opinion and they're close to you. They know how you move. And if they call you out on it, hey, you know, that thing that you said, that thing that you did, that wasn't really cool. Not saying it, shunning them, because we all fall short. We all mess up. But if we hold each other accountable, because iron sharpens iron, we should all want to be better. And we should all have people in our lives that are willing to be that person for us, to hold that mirror up and say, hey, you know, this little thing right here, might want to, you know, deal with that. And I think that's ultimately going to create the safe spaces and the healthy dialogue that we need to have in our communities to help bring this healing about.
When all else fails, look inward, right? And if you have God living in you, then you know that you were created in His image. I mean, you know that He created all of us in His image. When you can look across the room and say that this person is trash, you have to then look in and say, well, how much God do I have in me if I can only see the bad in other people? That to me, if you don't see what you like in the world, look in and see how can you be better, and then how can you help other people be better? Because just judging somebody and pointing the finger, that's not what we put here to do. We supposed to be loving each other, and I ain't saying that it's easy, and I ain't saying that it's your job to go out and every person, you know, to interact with them in a way that is going to change this person's life. But it's certain people that you run across that you're going to be held accountable for. How did you treat this person? How did you help this person? How did you interact with this person? So be the person that you want other people to be. And the only way you do that is being the best you. I don't think, like, when you're so caught up in being the best person that you can be, you don't have time to put other people down. You only looking for ways to help other people, you know, be their best. So that's it. That's all I got.
I think that wraps it up.
Yeah.
Okay. So, again, the show is on YouTube. It's called The Grapevine.
Man bashing episode.
The man bashing episode. And tell us what you think about it. We love to hear your feedback. There were a lot of gems in there. There were a lot of WTF moments as well. Let us know where you fall on the spectrum and add your 2 cents on any of our social media platforms: Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, and Tumblr.
And we're in these streets. We're in these Dallas streets. So if you see us, holler at us. I'm approachable. I don't know, you might not want to run up on my wife.
I'm in love. Approach us in love.
Yeah, no doubt. No doubt. It's all love.
Let us know what you think. Also, of course, check out the other episodes. They're worth checking out as well. Like we said, we pretty much watch them every week and have our own personal discussions around them. But we love what they're doing. They're at least creating the dialogue, and that's what we need more of. Okay? So, any announcements?
Yeah, definitely. We're going to have an event. I'm speaking into existence this summer. We're going to host a marital mission event. Details to be determined. You know, we'll let you know about that.
So that word accountability, hold us accountable.
Oh, yeah, no doubt. There's another episode that is definitely in the making that I'm excited about. I pray that it blesses you guys as much as it has blessed me. So be looking forward to that. We're going to be doing some live streaming this year. So kind of throw some topics at us, because I know a lot of you guys want to interact with us. So if there's anything in specific.
And the best time to do that, because, you know.
Yeah.
We're we just sometimes we go live and one or two people check in and it's like, okay, well, that didn't work out the way we thought.
Yeah.
So we'll try to do some Facebook live, some Instagram stories, and yeah, check us out. Maybe we need to be on Snapchat.
Yeah, let us know about that because,
Yeah.
I told the wife that I'm about being uncomfortable this year. I'm trying to get out of my comfort zone, and I definitely never had any interest in snapping, after the franchise wars took a fall. So, hey,
Now you got to be a certain age
they
to
catch
catch
it.
that.
They'll catch it.
Okay.
You'll catch that tomorrow on your way to work.
Maybe.
All right, so we love you.
Yes, thank you for being patient again with us.
No doubt. And we'll see you guys later. We close out with a prayer.
Yes.
God, we thank you for bringing us into this new year. We thank you for the power that you have instilled in each and every one of us. We thank you for giving us the mind, Lord, to create the things that we desire in this world and the things that you desire to do through us. As we go about this year, we just ask that you will allow us to consider other people, Lord, to create a safe space for us to be able to build one another up instead of tear each other down.
Yes.
And we speak prosperity and success in the lives of all of those that are listening right now. We love you. We thank you. In your son Jesus' name we pray. Amen.
Amen. Have a great week, y'all.